Hi, this is Chris Brown for ClosePoint Cafe, and this is our 6th episode. And today I have a really dear friend of mine that was able to give us his time to talk about his interesting past and where he is today as a real estate professional. He started out with his family in real estate, and today he's grown to be one of the most dominant real estate agents in Gloucester County. So today I have with us Mr. Robert Barnhardt Jr. Hi, Bob. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you, man. It's been some time since you and I actually had to sit down and do something like this together.
Yep.
And I've always found your story to be very interesting because you come from a real estate family. Unlike me, I dove into real estate, learning from others, and you learned from family. So
I didn't even realize I was learning when I started learning, Chris. I mean, I think I was 9, 10 years old.
Okay.
Listening to real estate lingo at the dinner table and at the office, pulling weeds out front, and then Mom would say, "Can you grab the phones?" And I'm answering phones at 12 years old at Realty World.
No way.
Back in 1985.
Wow.
Like, it's wild when I look back. Like, that's just such a long time ago.
I'm smiling because I can vision you at 12 years old doing cold calling.
But that's, and my parents, from our generation, we were talking about earlier, they made us work. Yeah. They made us work. And I didn't even realize I was learning a business, an entire industry at such an early age that I would literally continue to do for my entire life.
And your mom and dad were incredibly successful in what they did.
And still are. And they still are. Yeah, they're running their business down in Delaware, and they're going strong. Mom's a director of training for KW. Dad's running a team there. They're still going strong. My sister Melissa's in the business.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. She's been licensed even longer than I. I think I'm at 30 years. She's probably about 34 years.
Wow.
So yeah, it's been a family affair, and then naturally with Bobby coming into the picture,
your son. Yeah.
Yeah. It just it's
Barnhardt
wild.
name, though, the Barnhardt name in Gloucester County in southern New Jersey is very, very, very prevalent name. And when you hear Barnhardt,
you know what's
think
funny?
Real estate.
Bobby comes home all the time with these stories. He'll say, Dad, I was out at this open house and this couple came through and they said they know your dad. Your dad sold 2-3 homes for them back in the 80s or the 90s. Or they'll come through and they know me. It's like no matter where he goes, it's like, I know your dad, I know your grandfather, but it's all goodwill too. And that's what this business is about, like relationships, long-term relationships.
And we've had that discussion with every professional that's sat here that we've done episodes with. And it always comes down to the relationship that you have with your clients. And, we talked about this earlier, and I'm going to ask you, do you think the way you were trained to be the realtor you are today versus new realtors, are you more successful because of the customer service centric aspect of who you are? And go ahead. You
Great question. I feel like I'm caught somewhere in the middle of the two, meaning the new agents. I grew up like you did, very face to face. Well, shit, when I started, you couldn't text anybody. We didn't even own a cell phone. I just got my first pager. So everything was face to face. It was this. Right. It was this dynamic right here that it's the human touch, and that's been lost. And I think the new generation of realtors, and some of them are absolutely amazing, a very different approach than what I've been taught or have taken. But I learned from a lot of the new ones too. I love a lot of the new ideas and things they're doing. I think a lot of them do lack this face-to-face handshake, looking somebody in the eye, talking with them, building a true relationship. Sure. It's a little too electronic, but I kind of feel like I'm in the sweet spot. I'm young enough to embrace all that technology, and I want to. I love learning about all new technology, new apps. We're constantly evolving. And if you're not willing to learn and change, you're a dinosaur and you're going to go extinct.
Right.
So I kind of feel blessed that, having grown up in being taught the relationship aspect of it, but also now kind of segueing into the newer, with technology and kind of embracing it all and putting it all together into one package.
So let's go back some. In high school, who were you in high school? Let's talk about that.
Oh my. I was a rock star, Chris.
Literally.
You know my story.
Literally. Go for it.
My hair was down my back. I walked around with a concert shirt on and a leather jacket, and if you would have asked me back then, I would have loved to have been a rock star, for real. But,
And music is still very important to you.
Oh my God.
I've seen you pull out your acoustic guitar
Passionate about
and just rip off tunes.
I love the guitar. I've played it my whole life. I can't drive around through the day without listening to music. It gets me through the day. And the funny part is I love when somebody's in my vehicle and they'll go, how did we just go from the Beatles to Metallica to gangster rap? And I go, listen, if it's good,
I'm like
it's good. And I'm in different frames of mind sometimes. Maybe I need a little gangster rap. I'm on my way to a big appointment, or a little heavy metal to go knock out this closing. Like, I feel like that stuff's it's compelling. It motivates me.
So in high school, you're a part of a band. You're who taught you to play the instrument? That's what I want to know.
You know, I learned. It's funny. I never took a single lesson.
That's amazing.
In my entire life.
And I'm not to embarrass you, but you realize that's genius. To be able to do that.
You know what it was? It wasn't even genius. It was work ethic. It was work ethic. You know what I would do back then? So nowadays, I'm jealous of the kids nowadays learning how to play instruments. They can hop on their iPad. They can pull up the actual music. It teaches them as they go. Me, I would ride my BMX bike to a store, get the Guitar World magazine for the month.
There you go.
And one song would be transcribed in there. So every month, I'd lock myself in the bedroom, and I'd sit in there until I could learn how to play that entire song. Amazing. And after 3, 4, 5 years, it just evolved. And next thing you know, we were doing gigs at bars and having a lot of fun with it. But, back on your initial question, high school, I wasn't really school material. I'm very unorthodox in that I didn't even finish high school. But I was determined. I was always a hard worker. And leaving school, I immediately went to work in a body shop and learned a whole other trade. And I love cars. I love muscle cars. I love bikes, boats. That stuff is it's still exciting to me. So I love that I learned that. And it instilled a great work ethic into me, that I carried that blue collar work ethic into this white collar industry that I now love.
And you're a commodity because you can talk construction, you can talk automobile.
Pretty well rounded.
Yes. And your biggest passion that I know of is fishing.
Love it.
Your boat.
Love it.
You'll go out, what time?
1 o'clock in the morning.
1 o'clock in the morning.
Head out into the black abyss. Yeah. And there's nothing I enjoy. There's nothing I enjoy more. And most people that I've had
using the force and GPS to get to where
you're looking at radar. You can't see 5 feet in front of the boat, and you'll have somebody new on the boat, and they're puckered up. They're a little concerned, and I'm just dancing to reggae music, heading out to the canyon.
I've been here before.
Yeah, we've done this many times. You'll be fine.
Yeah, canyons 4 hours.
But it's liberating. It's liberating. When you work in an industry like we do, where you're dealing with people, especially when you're doing it on a high level and you're dealing with so many people, like, you have to have an escape. And if you don't, I learned this earlier. I'm better at it now. I used to get myself to the point of burnout. I would work so much. Vacation, glued to the phone. I was not capable of turning it off, putting it down. I am now, because I recognized, and I started getting better at this about 5, 6, 7 years ago. Turning 50 this year has definitely helped me grow out of some of those.
But the new 50. The 50 is the.
We were just talking about 50 is the new 30 or 35. Yeah, because we're made different.
Yes, we are.
But yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
So going from high school you went right into real estate.
I got my real estate. I left high school. I started working in a body shop. I was painting cars. I loved it. It was a lot of fun. But I very quickly realized I was going to kill my body working in this industry. And not even that, my income potential was so limited. And I had a lot of dreams and aspirations that I very quickly realized I was not going to attain painting cars. Right. Super grateful I learned that trade. I still do a lot of that kind of stuff at home on my own thing. So I'm grateful for learning that. But once I hit about 21 years old, my parents kept saying, buddy, you've got something. You could really kill it in this business. And I didn't listen to my mom and dad often, but I did listen to them that time. And I went to real estate school on lunch break at the body shop when everybody else would go to the bar and have beers. And I would sit in my car and study the real estate book. So at 21, I got my real estate license. And man, I was off to the races, Chris.
But who did you hang with first?
Well, I started, because I was going to follow my parents. As a 21-year-old kid, I didn't know anything.
Who else better?
I didn't know anything. And who else can I trust to teach me and want to see me succeed? So both my parents at the time worked at Realtors.
Okay.
So I had moved over there, and that only lasted about 6 months because they were already in a transition of leaving there. So I started at Weichert in Camden County on Blackwood Clementon Road.
I know it well.
Yeah, and I got to learn that area. It was kind of funny because I was really just a Gloucester County guy. And back then, people didn't venture out as far as they
stayed local.
do now. Yeah. And you didn't have a GPS, so you had a map book. So trying to show houses was a whole nother bag of tricks, you know, with your Multac key or,
right.
you know, different world. But yeah, I mean, I hopped in at 21. We went to Weichert. I was there for 6 months. My parents were offered a great position at Brick Real Estate, which is a small independent in Medford.
Yeah.
So now I'm driving to Medford, learning Burlington County. I'm 22 years old, driving a 69 fastback Barracuda to show houses, rolling up to people to show the house, and they'd look and go, "We're getting in that?" I said, "There's no AC, but we can roll the windows down and open the vents for you."
And the wife's hair is all
Oh
blown off.
yeah. It was comical, but the guys loved it. The guys loved the muscle car, but you know, it was amazing. I kind of felt like I was thrown to the wolves, but it's what I needed.
Right.
And man, I just kept expanding from there. I mean, I was 22 when we went there, and then I guess I was around 25 when we made the move to Remax.
Okay.
And
when you say we,
my parents and I all decided together we were going to slide over and
as realtors.
yeah, and make the move to Remax.
Okay.
So a good friend of ours, Lydia Spinosi, who is a dear sweetheart, she owned a great little Remax office in Washington Township. So we went to work for her. And I'll be honest, once I got into that franchise, you know, I believe who you surround yourself with can really elevate
100%.
your game. I don't believe it. I know it now. Like I
It's
know I'm living it again right now with EXP and this organization. But having at that time, I think Remax was the best thing around. They really had the best thing around. And I'm talking mid 90s, you know, 96, 97. So went there, worked for Lydia, and man, I just lit it up. I lit it up. I was on fire. And I was full of this like love of the business to the point where I said, I don't want to work for somebody the rest of my life. I want to be the broker.
Yeah.
I'm going to be around a lot longer
So
than
here we
all
are.
these.
Now you get this idea.
So now I get this great brainstorm. Let's go start an office. For anybody listening, don't do it. Been there, done that. But at the end of the day, that's what motivated me was I knew I was going to be around for a long time. I knew I had a lot bigger dreams and things that I felt like I wanted to fulfill.
So you stayed with Lydia.
I stayed with Lydia
For how long?
I'd say I was there for 3 years.
Okay.
And it was 1999 that I took it upon myself to contact the owners of Remax in New Jersey, Joe Ventresca and Jeff Snyder.
Yeah.
And Steve Goldberg was still around then. So I met with those three fellas up in Moorestown on Lenola Road. And I struck a deal with them. My parents had no clue.
They had no clue.
Oh, no. I signed a
You did
franchise
yourself.
agreement, 24, 25 years old, signed a franchise agreement, left Moorestown, drove to Mullica Hill, and I said, well, I need a location now. So I'm driving down Main Street. There's a for sale by owner sign in front of what I think is one of the most beautiful Victorians in Mullica Hill, owned by a Italian fella that used to cut hair in there in an old-fashioned barber shop.
Oh, that's cool.
And I walked in, and Frank and I just hit it off. He was like a grandpop that I never had or something. Like he was just an amazing man, and we hit it off. And he saw something in me, and we worked out this handshake deal for me to buy his building. And I thought, well, I should probably get with mom and dad and tell them what's going on. So I called them. I said, let's meet for lunch. So we met for lunch at 5 Points Diner.
Your first recruiting appointment.
Deptford. Here I am, 24, no clue what I'm doing. I'm going to open a Remax office.
Open a Remax office.
It'll be easy.
And I'm going to talk to my mentors about coming to work for me now.
And they looked at me and said, are you out of your mind? Are you out of your mind? But then they had seen the legwork I did. They seen
that you
how
put
much,
it all together.
Yeah, and I was doing it. I want you to be a part of this, but I'm doing this, and I need you. I need you guys, and they agreed. So we opened Remax Millennium, and it was right around the end of 1999.
Awesome.
And we ran it there in Mullica Hill for several years.
And you grew it.
We did grow it.
Because I know some of the agents that used to work there, and you grew it.
It's really cool to like step back and like Jay Amwake, right? So Jay's my mortgage guy now, my go-to guy. Love Jay Amwake.
Shout out to Jay Amway.
Shout out to Jay Amway. He's my guy. And,
Green Tree Mortgage.
Amazing mortgage guy with Green Tree Mortgage and a dear friend. But it's just one of many names who, around that time, Brian Ziegenfuss, who contacted me and said, hey, I love what you're doing. Young new energy in the business, want to come work with you and feed off of that.
Guy on top of it.
And these guys came on, and I'll tell you, we had this group, we had this synergy in this group. Like, we were young but hungry. We were focused. I don't know. I just felt like we had this great little team of agents, and we weren't large, but we were mighty.
Right. I get it.
It was,
which is a nice niche, by the way.
And I'll be honest with you. As much as I say I would never own an office again, but I don't regret, because I feel like I learned so much. And one thing I always tell the people that I work under these days, and I tell them, you'll never hear me say it must be nice, because I know exactly how hard you're working, whomever I'm working under.
Sure.
Because I've been there.
Yeah, it's you take on not just your issues, but everybody's.
And you take them home with you.
And they're calling you during dinner. They're calling, and that's
and it's important to them because they're feeding their families.
Livelihood.
Yes.
And that's what's in your mind as an entrepreneur. Everybody thinks being an entrepreneur or a business owner is so time-free. No.
It's the opposite.
It's complete. You're a slave to the business.
Yes.
And until you get to the level after many, many years to develop and invest in people to run your business, that's when you get to become out of the cog, out of the system, and you start doing the things you'd like to do.
But most people never get to that stage because the burnout happens so fast when you're trying to do everything. And that was my problem. We didn't have systems in place. Like, I'm telling you, like making the move to EXP and where I'm at now, and just, I'm enamored almost by the level of support, the technology, the systems, how much easier it has made my transactional process, to the point where, it's only been 3-4 months that I've been there. My production's already increasing. I'm not sitting and doing paperwork like I used to for hours. My transaction coordinator handles that. It's a different animal. And for me, it was hard to wrap my head around, because us guys that have been doing it for 20, 30 years, we're kind of set in our ways, and I was a control freak. I want to do everything myself. But man, learning to just let go a little bit and take your input, because you were on me for a while. Well, Bobby, you got to listen to me. This is the way to do it. And I fought it.
I wanted agents to understand that in order to have longevity in anything you do, you have to be able to trust the system. And whether it's EXP, Real, Remax, KW, if that system works for you and you trust it and you can grow and not get burnt out, then stay there.
Yes.
That's your gig.
But you need systems that will help you thrive. Like, I had systems where I was before, and I spent over 25 years at my last franchise. Yeah. But you become complacent, and there's like this new business model, like the way EXP functions, it's so dissimilar to where I had been before. There's so many differences.
With EXP, it comes off as a cloud brokerage. But is that true?
That's not my experience.
Okay.
That's not my experience. And listen, maybe it's unique. Working under the connection team with Deanna, and the support that we get from ClosePoint is,
thank you.
I can't be more thankful. It's just, I feel like it's put me in this position where I feel like I'm actually working less and making more right now. And is that even possible?
It's what we all shoot for, right?
I feel like my quality of life.
It's like the book, The 4-Hour Work Week.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, and listen, don't get me wrong, I'm a workaholic. I don't know how to turn it off, but it's nice when I go, wow, I can actually go fishing for a few hours, and the TCs have this handled, and ClosePoint's got that taken care of, and I know the next day when I come back to the dock, I can wake up in the morning, go to my closing, and all my stuff's in place. It's you can't put a number on that. There's intangibles there that you can't even put a value on.
So let's go back. High school, you open up Millennium. You sold Millennium.
I was lucky. I sold it in 06.
Yeah, in 06.
Yep.
To a bigger franchisor.
Yep.
And then you jump in and you go with who?
Well, when I sold the Remax office, I was a gung-ho Remax guy. I had no intentions of leaving Remax, but when I sold the company, I just wasn't comfortable staying in that environment with how the office was being run under the new management. So,
And which often happens.
It
by the
does.
way, because your culture and new management culture could be completely different.
Opposite.
And it's not your culture.
that's right. And it was not a comfortable, and I need to love where I work, Chris. Like, I spend more time working than I do doing anything else. So if I don't love the people I'm with and where I'm working, it affects not just your production, but your home life. It really does. It affects everything. So I came to the conclusion, I said, well, you know what, this isn't comfortable for me or management. I'm going to make a move. Well, unfortunately, at the time, there were no other local RE/MAX offices.
Oh, really?
Down where I was, I mean, living in Swedesboro, Woolwich, the only other RE/MAX was Washington Township. There was nothing else
right.
because Connection hadn't opened in Mantua yet.
Right.
So I made the move to Century 21 in Mullica Hill, Hughes and Riggs.
Which is a great office.
It was a wonderful office, and Dale and Gene Riggs,
They ran it very well.
wonderful people. They ran a really tight ship. I was super impressed, but I never bought into the Century 21 franchise. It just wasn't me, but they had market share. They ran a great business, and for me, that made the most sense at that time. So I lasted about 2 years there.
Oh, so it was an extended time.
Oh yeah, and they took amazing care of me, and it was a tough time too because the market was in the toilet at that point. I'm talking, this was 08,
Ugh.
09.
Scary.
Very scary times. So there was a lot going on.
First of all, anybody who's going through 08, 09, 10, and getting into a little bit of 11, you're a savage.
You're a different person.
If you're still here and you went through that time, you are a savage and you are tough. And
I love talking to the agents and the people who were around then who get it. Because agents now, which, to their defense, they don't know because they haven't gone through certain swings. And we've been through so many of them already.
Yes.
So you kind of get acclimated and you know how to navigate those better. But yeah, I mean, it was...
So you go and then you jump off of, you leave Century 21, you go over into RE/MAX Connection.
Yeah.
And who was the broker then?
Ziggy was managing.
Ziggy, was Ziggy the manager?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ziggy.
Yeah. And Ziggy and I go way. I mean,
And that
I
office
brought
always
him
had-
in the residential
Right.
resale
Yeah, that's right.
business, so he and I already were super
So
tight.
the Mantua office was a lot like your Millennium idea because everybody was close knit.
Yeah.
Everybody knew each
It
other.
was like a family.
It was a family.
It literally was.
Yes, I agree. 100% agree.
And that made it hard too when leaving and but I'll tell you, when I made it
but
to
how long were you there though? You were there
at
Mantua, at RE/MAX
in Connection in Mantua? Geez, I was at RE/MAX in Mantua for probably 12 years.
12 years.
And I loved every minute of it.
Yes.
I did. I mean, very different dynamic from the system that I'm involved in now, but as far as the office and John who runs it and his son Justin, and they do an amazing job. They're great people. They treat you truly like family. It was an amazing experience, But like with everybody and in life, changes come, people grow, things happen. I would have never thought in a million years that I would have ended my career anywhere but with a balloon over my head. I would have never thought that. If you would have told me
you were
that,
a lifer.
if you would have told me that, I would have said you're out of your mind. There's no way. I was in for life. I sold my soul to it. I love the system. And man, the only regret that I have about making the move that I made to EXP, and I know you've heard this a million times, is that I didn't make it sooner.
Really?
100%. Had I made this move 3 years ago, I'm just looking at how I project where I would be.
Are you talking about the rev share?
I'm talking about everything. I'm talking about take the rev share out of it.
Take it out.
Right? Take the stock options. Take all that stuff out of it. Let's negate all that and just say just the system and how I perform under it. That alone, to me, was reason enough. When you threw the other stuff on top, the rev share, the stocks, that just was the gravy that made it a no-brainer decision.
Gotcha.
And when you sat and looked at the numbers, I'm not an accountant by any means, but
you know what a good deal is.
I mean,
you know how to negotiate.
I can use a calculator. I can use a calculator. So, it was really a no-brainer decision. And really more than that, for me, I'm, back to what we said earlier about relationships, I'm such a relationship guy.
Yes, you
and
are.
your wife and you guys are like dear friends. I feel like we're closer than we should be for the amount of time we've known each other.
I agree.
I mean it. We go to football games, go out to dinner together on a personal level, not even
it's
work
not
related.
business.
It's not business. We talk sometimes
we
Sunday
enjoy each
morning at
other
9
out.
a.m. You
Yeah.
and I on the phone shooting the shit.
And we're also breaking each other's stones.
And yeah,
on
we're having a
text.
good time. We're having a good time. But we work so well together. And I just love. Listen, I can't say enough positive stuff about the Browns. I love you guys.
And the Barnhardts too. I mean,
It's a love fest. It's a love fest for me.
kids,
So
I mean, it's amazing. I'm going to get away from the business for a second. You as a dad, you're like me. You're all about your kids.
now you're gonna get me gushing.
I'm going to get you gushing because, it's like Roy Firestone getting the freaking football players crying. You're going to make me cry.
You're not gonna
Roy.
get me crying, Chris. You're not gonna get me crying.
But you put your kids through private school. You get them through college. Your daughter is a financial advisor.
Yep.
She has her Series 7, I think.
Graduated from St. Joe's
St.
University
Joe's,
with a finance degree.
Right. You got Bobby Jr., who's killing it in real
Kicking
estate.
butt, selling homes,
Doing what you did at his
which
age.
is so much fun to watch and be a part of.
I agree.
It's
And
amazing.
with my own kids, I see the same thing. And your other son, let's talk about him for a second.
Ryan. Yeah, so
He's the youngest one.
No, he's not. He's I have one more under him. Yeah. So Ryan's 20. He's in St. Joe's University also. He's going for a sports marketing degree.
Good for him.
Yeah, he's passionate about sports. Loves, not in an athletic way. He
Managing.
He loves
Athletic director.
statistics. I mean, last night I didn't even realize the game came on. I was still working, and he's texting me, "Do you have this game on? Are you watching this? Do you see what's like?" He's just so into it, and it's something that he and I always really connected over,
Sure.
and I love that because Bobby and I, we always had the fishing and the dirt bikes, but Ryan and I always really connected over the sports thing, and he's really pursuing it with school and with his degree. Like he
What
wants.
year is he in?
I think he's a
junior?
Junior, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I'm horrible with it.
20, yeah, he's got to be a junior.
I can't keep up with all
And
these
the
kids.
youngest?
And the youngest, AJ, is
AJ.
15.
I remember.
Yeah, he gets forgotten about sometimes. He's coming up.
He's quiet.
He is, but he's my gym buddy. He got me in shape this year.
Oh, that's the one that you
Yes.
go, okay, all right. Because I always thought, with my son, I thought it was Ryan.
Nah.
Because I know Bobby Jr. don't like working out.
He has no interest. The only working out he does, he picks up 12 ounces at a time. He does bicep curls like this.
That's awesome.
But no, AJ is.
Now you're.
You know what's so
incredible.
cool about, and you have 4 kids too. So what's awesome is having all these different personalities and different types of relationships with your kids. Like with AJ, it's like he checks on me during the day. Like, what are you eating today? He has me eating a clean diet. Like, I've lost 25 pounds since I've been working out with this kid. He's so, for a 15-year-old, it's mind-blowing to me the dedication and commitment that he has to, like, weightlifting. Like, he wants to be a bodybuilder.
Imagine what he's going to be like when he comes into his own.
Oh,
I mean, these are just roots.
it's what a
Until he
good base,
blossoms.
though. What a good base, like, to see
Unbelievable.
kids that age not, because he was a gamer, and he still can be. He can lock himself in the basement, play video games, but
They all do.
to see him getting out and growing into his own young man and doing these really cool, healthy, wholesome things that I think he'll do his whole life, it's awesome as a dad to see that. Like, it's exciting.
I love how enthusiastic you are about being a dad.
I get fired up. It's my favorite thing
Because
in the
that's your
world.
number one thing.
You're not going to make me cry, Chris.
I'm not going to. But that's your number one gig.
It is. Listen, being a father, I'm not going to lie. I could sell
They're your buddies.
$10 million in real estate this week. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, my kids are everything to me. It's been my purpose. It's honestly what has driven me. And it's getting weird. Now they're older, moving out, they have lives.
Conversations change.
It's a very different dynamic, and you're not chasing them around and you don't know where they are every minute of the day. You don't have to be at this game or this practice or take them here for dance class or whatever it may be, but your relationship changes and it matures, and it's an awesome, you're seeing it yourself. It's just an amazing thing. I feel so blessed.
It makes you feel well-rounded, too.
It does. And it keeps
it's
me
your legacy.
It
It's
keeps
your-
it
they're
keeps
your
me
legacy.
grounded. It keeps me grounded. Like
100%.
my family has always been like my anchor.
Yes.
Because if left to my own devices, this brain could be
I think
crazy.
Bobby would have a house in California.
Who knows?
Florida.
Who knows?
Maybe even Alaska.
I might be living on a boat somewhere in the Bahamas.
Living on a boat in the Bahamas somewhere.
Anything's possible.
All that sounds great, but nothing compares to having
Nothing.
watching your kids develop into
It's
productive adults that respect other people and take care of themselves and be able to take care of themselves.
Ultimate reward.
Totally. 100%.
Like, I thought I was proud watching them play sports and whatnot. And they were some of the proudest moments. Watching my daughter compete for dance competitions, or Bobby winning races on dirt bikes, or AJ playing football, or whatever they were into. It was so cool and such a proud moment. But now watching them like turn into productive members of society, like actual adults that are contributing to society in a positive way.
Somebody.
Yeah, and they're going to leave their mark on the world. Man, it's... And plus, then I know one of them will have a huge house one day that I could live in the east wing, or maybe the finished basement.
That's your investment.
That's what I'm shooting for here.
There you go. So let's get back into the business role. You also do flips.
Yes.
You've done flips for how long?
So I did a ton of flips.
I know you did.
I've
I closed them.
probably done 60 to 70 of them myself. To be honest, I don't really do them myself anymore. I have a couple clients, one especially, who is really, he and I have talked about relationships. My good buddy Chuck, he and I are just close friends first and foremost. But we have such an amazing working relationship. And we started this little hobby about 18 months ago. Really his hobby. Bob, I want to buy and sell some homes. It's not a hobby. It's a multi-million-dollar business now each year. And I'm so excited to be a part of it. And it doesn't feel like work when you're working with people that you have relationships like that with. It's like literally we're joking and talking about our next fishing trip and when we go on salmon fishing next. And it's like what we do as we're cutting deals. It doesn't even feel like I'm going to work.
That's the beauty.
And that's really the coolest thing.
There's a very small percentage of people
that can actually say that.
That can actually say it and live it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about when you're speaking to a new investor. Why don't you give some tips to realtors who want to speak to investors but don't know how to have that conversation? What is the little secret tidbits or little ideas that you can give them to land that investor client and the conversation that needs to take place?
I mean, they're all great questions. And I think, like, I just went through this last week. So I had a property that Chuck purchased. He's got so many on his plate. A lot of times we'll just wholesale them off to somebody who's going to ultimately do the renovation and flip the house. So we bought this one house. 2 weeks later, he cleaned it up. I put it on the market. I had a ton of investors calling me. And I'll tell you, I think the first thing that the investors like is somebody who's real. They don't want the phony sales guy. They just don't want that. The way I'm talking to you, the way I'm talking to you, and the way I talk to everybody is the same way I talk to these guys. I met this fella there last week, and he was from South Philly, and I'm a Philly guy originally. And he and I spoke the same language. We just clicked. And by the time we were finished, he said, I got like 5 other realtors that send me stuff. And I'll be honest with you, I would rather work with one. He's like, I love your delivery. I love your honesty. You just seem so honest. Like we just hit it off. And needless to say, he bought the house. We're closing on it next week. ClosePoint's doing a title. And now we're getting ready to line up his next one for him. And I think the thing is, back to what your question was, is how do you talk to these investors, right? So I think first it's being real, but there's different types of it. I'm also a little picky about which investors I want to work with. Some of them work with 20, 30 realtors, which is fine. And that may be a good business model for them. I have a very different approach. Exclusivity. But as a result, like,
you're interviewing that investor just like they're interviewing you.
Bingo. When I take on a new investor, especially a new investor. Now, if it's a listing, sure, I'll almost take any listing. But a new investor, you need to put a lot of time.
It's a lot of time.
A lot of time into them. So if there is no commitment or no sort of exclusivity, you could run around and show 10, 15 houses, write 12 offers, and then they walk through with their other buddy realtor the next day through something else that they buy, and you're not getting compensated for your time. I have no problem, like with Chuck, who I mentioned earlier. Chuck is, we have such a good relationship. When investors call him now because I really put him out on social media.
Sure you have.
And he's now getting a good reputation because of the quality product that he's putting out.
Firsthand. 100%.
It's like new construction.
Yes.
So, what was my point? Jeez, I just lost my train of thought.
No. You were talking about the relationship.
So my point was with Chuck was he's getting bigger, and now he's getting calls from investors who are saying, hey, what do you have coming up? And you know what he says every time? I'm going to send you my agent's number, and you can talk to him because he handles all my real estate affairs. Do you know how good that feels?
100%.
And I earned that. I mean, I've proven to him that the commitment is reciprocal.
But not just to him, but to other investors.
I mean, 100%. And he's one of many.
I listened to you before we started this conversation, and you said, do the app, do the ROI, show them what they're going to get at the end of this transaction based on this and this and this. This app that you use.
Yes.
Is this something you generated?
No. So, nowadays there's so many.
Come on, give us a tip.
Yeah. So one of the things I do.
Let's share.
So when I go through a potential flip, an opportunity, which we probably walk through 10 to 15 of them a week.
Okay.
We're not trying to be the number one guy in terms of volume. We try to find really good opportunities. But what I do is before I even go to a property, I do my homework. Chuck's a busy man. I'm a busy man. We don't even make it to the doorstep unless I've already done a ton of research, run my comps. I already know the ARV. I already have a rough idea on repair budget. You have a general idea what your numbers are.
And there goes back to your
so then I have this
roots learning from your parents.
100%. And it's really that preparation and before just dragging, because a lot of people just fire listings out to their investor and then just go meet them there and then try to figure it out as they go.
Right.
This is what Chuck loves about me is I go, listen, I know you're busy. We're going to go look at one today. And he even told me, he goes, dude, I am so busy. I don't know how much. I said, meet me there at 3:15. I'll have you out in 10 minutes. I already got the numbers worked up. And he and I, within 10 minutes, can decide if he wants to buy this $200,000 opportunity or not.
Requires.
Because when I walk in, I'll already have a spreadsheet. I have an app. You were asking about the app. So I have an app I use. It was a free app. I just got it on the Apple Store. And basically, it's just a quick spreadsheet. You punch in the ARV. You punch in, you have to know your numbers. You got to do your research to have the data to plug in. But I do all that as we're walking through. And as we're walking, Chuck's the construction guy. He's kind of going through and going, yeah, I think, all right, we're at about 90 grand. Let's call it 100 to play it safe. I plug his number in. Here's your net profit. We're looking at 65,000 net profit. So you can make an educated decision. And here's the best part. He and I were talking about it the other day because we had one house. First time we had one that didn't sell in a week. All of his properties, when he's done, I sell them in 3-4 days.
I've noticed that.
We just had one. It was in a tough town, so it was a little hard to get it sold. Took 30 days. He was getting a little concerned and said maybe we shouldn't have bought it in this town. I almost second-guessed myself for a minute. But sure enough, last week, an agent came along with a fantastic offer, literally exceeded the ARV that I proposed in my spreadsheet, which equated to more profit. So in the end, like I said to him, I sent him a text. I said, I told you, buddy, I got you, man. We're going to be fine. We're batting 1,000. We haven't lost on one, knock on wood.
Right.
We haven't lost on one, but
Which
I think
is rare.
that comes down
Which is
to,
rare.
well, it's extremely rare.
Yeah.
And especially now because the market is turning. It's not what it was 6 months ago or 12 months ago.
That's correct.
It is turning, and it's continuing to turn and change.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
The change in the market and also the change in NAR's rules. How are you coping with that?
With the new laws?
Yeah, with the new disclosure of buyer agency, things of that nature.
I'll be honest, I actually like it.
So,
I
you'll be the first, but go ahead.
I mean, initially when I heard about it, and like everybody else, the sky is falling, and oh my God, how are we going to survive this? How are we going to make this happen? I mean, I think back, like in 1995, when I was like a year in the business, and they called this emergency meeting at Brick Real Estate, and the dear broker manager, Alice Klaus, she was a sweetheart, instrumental in teaching me too. And she had this meeting, and it was to explain to everybody about this new thing that we never knew about called buyer agency. And all the older folks in the room, my parents, people who had been doing it for 20 years at that point, they were losing their minds because they thought, this is crazy. You're going to hurt our business. And in the end result, it ended up being a good thing.
Right.
We needed some change to the way things were structured. And I won't dive into all the agency stuff, but
no, I get it.
It was needed. And fast forward a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years after that, everybody forgot about that sky is falling situation. And fast forward now, 30 years, however many years later we are. And it's a repeat of that. But I look at it like this. I look for the silver lining, right? I look for the silver lining. And frankly, I love it now because I'm not going to spend time with a buyer unless they're committed to me the way I am to them. That's number one.
Just like your investor clients.
Just like, would an attorney do any work for you if he didn't have a commitment from you to be compensated?
No.
Yeah, a retainer.
Right.
And we're not
Fee agreement.
100%. And I feel like it was needed. It was needed. I think the problem we're having right now is 95 to 98% of the agents don't fully understand the changes. And I fault their management, their brokers. You know, I had a conversation with a friend last night, and she's newer to the business, and she was asking me questions about this subject, and I could just tell by the responses that she has not been properly educated on it.
Really?
Yeah, and it's scary for the agent. It's liability for them. It's liability for their broker. It's one thing that EXP's been huge on is getting ahead of the curve. I mean, 3 months ago, I knew more than most agents I speak to right now on the phone know. 3 months ago, long before this stuff was implemented, because of the interest and time that the management and my team leader and other people put into properly educating us, so we weren't figuring it out after it happened.
Right.
We were already functioning that way weeks before the implementation.
It was a proactive approach to
100%.
resolving your concerns. So, Bob, we're going to talk about, and I'm going to call them the Barnhardt rules.
The Barnhardt rules.
The Barnhardt rules.
survival.
For survival. The survival kit. Give me some rules or advice that you would give to new agents coming into the business, and narrow it down to like maybe 3 of the Barnhardt rules.
Yeah.
To where you need to be and what you need to master to not only survive the business, but to thrive, to get to the next level. The things that your parents taught you, that now you're teaching your kids, what are the rules? You know, now you're 50 years old,
Yeah.
of that mentor age.
Yeah. It's weird.
It's weird. What are the Bob Barnhardt rules?
Well, good questions. Great questions. My head's spinning now. I would have to say, first and foremost, it's who you're with. It's who you're surrounded by and who is training you.
Right.
Because I look back, and I feel like it does take a village to raise like a killer in the business. It does. And I'm speaking from my own experience. Yeah, I grew up under my parents and learned a lot from them, but I'd be lying if I said everything I learned from them.
Gotcha.
It was a great start, but I was coachable. And
So rule number 1, surround yourself with people that you can learn from.
Yes.
That are going to
learn the right way.
The right way.
Yes. Because you can learn from a lot of people.
The gritty, high-tech, savvy, right way.
If you're a new agent and you're not at least on a team that provides value, and I mean, and we could dive into that word.
That's
that is a whole nother
right.
conversation. That provides like huge value. That gives you a platform that you can actually thrive from, and you're constantly being educated and taught and morphed into a killer. You know, I look back, like Bob Hayes was a broker manager at Weichert, and I was always with my mom and dad, so he started taking me under his wing. He'd bring me in for cold calling night. Wednesday night was pizza night. So I would go to the office every Wednesday night, eat half a pizza, and make 200 cold calls. And I hate cold calling, Chris. I don't like it at all. But you know what? I was out of my comfort zone, and he knew I hated it. And he said, Bobby, you're coming in again next Wednesday. And every week I'd go in. And it was things like that instilled in me. A lot of times people gravitate to what's easy.
Yes.
Right? They gravitate to like, oh, I'll just do some online stuff. Like,
right.
There's nothing more powerful than picking up the phone and somebody hearing your voice on the other end. Nobody wants to do that anymore.
No.
So I feel like the first rule would be in the right environment, be with the right group of people.
Gotcha.
Be with the right group of people. I think that is key.
That inspires you, that challenges you.
It could be the difference
that holds you
between
accountable.
survival or failure. It could literally be the difference.
How about that?
Because I've seen too many. I've watched hundreds and hundreds of agents myself that I brought in who trained, some who went off to amazing careers, others who floundered and were not coachable, which I would say would be my second rule.
Be coachable.
You have to be coachable.
And no matter what.
I don't care if you're 60 years old and you think you know it all. I don't care if you're 50 and you've been doing this for 30 years. If you can't drop that ego, and embrace other intellectuals and be willing to actually listen to some things because you can't figure it all out. And if goes back to my first rule, if you're around the right people and then you're coachable, Man, that's a powerful combination right there. Number 3, I mean, it's weird. I have this thing where my foot never comes off the throttle. And I don't know if you can teach that. And what I mean by that is,
That's where I was going with number 3.
it could be Sunday morning and I'm on my way to church. And no, I don't go to church. I'm just giving an example.
It could be Sunday morning on the way to the bar.
On the way to the canyon to go fishing, right?
On the way to the canyon to go fishing.
And I still have my satellite phone with me.
Right.
Because if there's a deal that I know is cooking, in my mind, I can't completely relax unless I know that's been taken care of. Because I care about, it's not just my paycheck.
Right.
I care about my clients.
Your client.
Like, that's critically important. I want, when that deal's done, that they're so thrilled with me that their mom, their sister, their brother, their babysitter, their uncle, nobody would ever get a chance to call another realtor because that person's going to go, you got to call Bobby. He's amazing.
Right.
He's amazing. So I would have to say my third rule would just be being tenacious. And I don't know if that can be taught as much, maybe to an extent. Right. Some of that comes down to, my friend Danny always said X factor. You're born with it, or you're not. And
in wrestling, they call it the twitch.
Yeah, same.
Do they have the twitch? You can see it.
Same thing.
Or not.
You either have it or you don't.
Right.
And like somebody who has it, who is coachable, oh my God.
You can develop.
They're unstoppable.
Yeah.
They're unstoppable. So I think there are the 3 things. Be with the right group of people. Mm-hmm. Be coachable. Mm-hmm. And you got to be tenacious. If you come into this, I hear too many people, and you see it on social media all the time. I want to get in real estate because I'm going to have a lot more time on my hands. And I'll make my own schedule. And I love it.
Dude, that could be a mime right there.
I'm usually reading it while I'm driving, and it's popping up on my screen, and I'm reading it as I'm running to another appointment or a meeting, and I'm thinking, yeah, that's why I got into it too. That's why I got into it too, for the freedom. But you know what the reality is? I love what I do. Like, I was excited about this today.
This is cool.
I was excited about this. I woke up this morning, I was texting a friend, I said, like, what are you doing today? I said, I got this really cool photo shoot I'm going to go do with my buddy Chris. Asking me about it, I'm talking about it. I'm like, I'm actually pumped up about it. Like, I'm excited about this.
Because this is an important aspect where you get to demonstrate what your story is.
Makes it a little more human.
It's human, but it also gives, I honestly, like, realtors who've been in the business less than 5 years need to hear stuff like this.
Yeah.
They need to hear the backdrop of a story of where you came from to get to. They think it's overnight. Look, Amazon's been around for almost 30 years. It didn't just happen overnight. Apple, Microsoft.
And you know what, too? Like, when you do, like, going back to the relationship thing, not to keep kicking that, but when the market turns and things get crazy, when you have a solid base, people who genuinely love you, like, I have clients who genuinely love me, and it goes both ways. And no matter what the market climate, anytime anything real estate related comes up, my phone's ringing.
Yep.
My phone's ringing.
I've noticed that about you.
And that's a testament to just doing the right thing, right? I mean, just doing what you say you're going to do, and then exceeding
to give people
that.
an idea that may not know you from North Jersey, Central Jersey, because a lot of people watch that. How much business are you in units? Will you do? How much did you do last year?
Last year, I think I did 65 deals.
65 deals.
Yeah.
And this year?
This year on track to probably do close to 75 or 80.
So you
in a market that's probably turning.
It's 23% down.
Yeah.
This market.
Yeah, my numbers are probably going to be up 20% from last year.
That's a 40% swing.
And honestly, a lot of it's who I surrounded myself with.
So you're beating S&P 500.
That feels good.
It feels good.
I'm beating the odds already.
That's awesome. So what's next for Bob? What is next for the Barnhardt team? Where's are you even looking to grow?
I am.
Add agents?
I am.
Are you looking to mentor people, but not put them on your team, but just mentor? What is the deal with you? What because you have so much knowledge and so much to offer.
And you know what's funny? I enjoy teaching. Like, I enjoy sharing
Usually
all these.
the most successful people.
Well, I just love, like, and I'm not a good teacher in the sense of classroom atmosphere. I'm a good teacher in that watch me and duplicate.
Right.
And just hang out with me for a couple days, and I'm going to show you exactly. You're going to hear every little thing I say on the phone. You're going to watch every little tactic. Just come. When Bobby got into business, prime example. Mm-hmm. 19 years old when he got his license. I mean, he's a kid.
Even before you,
and younger than I was. But like for a guy that age to step to a guy your age or my age and try to do business. It's a challenge,
So
right?
some people want to quantify success by how much money they make. And I'm not going to ask how much. But in Bobby's case, 19 years old, what was his best year?
Income-wise?
Yeah.
Almost 70 grand.
70 grand.
Yeah.
For a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane.
And you know what? That was, he got the full Monty, you know? Buddy, you're going to sit next to me in this seat in my truck next to me every day for a year or two. And he did. He went to every appointment, every closing. His learning curve was so shortened. And I've trained a lot of people. Obviously, I probably maybe put a little more into him because he's my son. But he was also...
Would you offer that to somebody else that gave them...
Oh my God, yes.
Your attention.
If I seen somebody with that level of commitment, and you bring up great questions because I do love coaching, I do love teaching, but what I don't love...
You know where you're going.
Is getting chewed up and spit out by people who aren't coachable. People who... Because I've gone through that, and then it burns me out, and I go, you know what? I can sell close to 100 homes a year myself. Bobby and I have a great little thing going. We can run like that. But I feel like I have a lot more to offer.
100%.
I feel like there's so much more that I could be doing in terms of growing this team. So am I open to bringing another person or two or even three or four? Absolutely, I am. Very selective, though. Very highly selective.
Well,
so
just like you are with your clients, you interview your clients just like you will interview, and they're should do the same with you.
As they should. As they should.
As they should. So that's a big tidbit of information.
But if anybody out there is listening and they're looking to get into the business and they want to, my first rule was who you're with and who you're working with and how important that is. Somebody either is in the business, they're floundering, they're not happy where they're at, they don't feel like they're with the right people, call me. I'd love to give you my time. We'll go out to lunch. We'll go grab a cup of coffee, whatever. I'd love to share my 30 years and what I know with you. And if it seems like a good fit, let's talk and take it to the next level. I'm game for that. I just want to make sure I'm picking the right people, because I'm in it for the long haul. Like, I've been at this 30 years, but Chris, I swear I'm going to do this at least 15 more. I can't see myself not getting up and going to work anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
Retirement, that sounds boring to me.
That sounds boring to me.
And I can fish, but God, after 3-4 days of that, I'll probably get sick of that too.
Yes.
And I'll go, I just want to go sell a house or go deal with Chris or something. Like, I need that in my life.
I got you. I'm the same way.
But when you enjoy your job,
It's not working.
it's easy to say that.
Yes.
Like, I say it with sincerity. Like, I have friends who've been doing what they do for 25, 30, 35 years, and they hate getting up and going to work.
One last question for you. Are you finding that, I know you're a big Gloucester County powerhouse. Are you finding yourself branching out beyond Gloucester County now?
Yes.
Okay.
Big time.
And what are any challenges, or what would hold you back from going, let's say, this entire state of New Jersey, or even to Delaware? Is there anything
You
that's
bring
holding
up
back?
things that I have been processing lately, and I was talking to an old friend that's been doing it as long as me the other day, and I said, remember when, back in the 90s, when we only sold homes in not even a county, 2 or 3 towns? Like, if you were an agent and you were in West Deptford, you sold West Deptford, Mantua, maybe Sewell, you weren't running down to Cumberland County or Cape May County or Mercer County or over the bridge. You weren't doing that. I didn't do that, not for years. Now, I went out and got my Pennsylvania broker's license.
That's right.
15, I don't know, 18, I forget how many years ago, but close to 20 years ago. And I had gotten it just initially because I lived so close to the bridge. So many times I would sell a home to somebody and they'd say, oh, I got a house to sell right over the bridge. It's a shame you can't help me. So I went and got that license, not thinking I would use it much. I'll probably do 12, 15 deals in Pennsylvania this year.
Oh, wow.
I mean, some agents only do that many deals a year, and that's just like
Not many do.
yeah, that's just a side thing.
Right.
But you know, not even that. I mean, you'll find me in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, Philadelphia County, Delaware County, Montgomery County. But then I'm huge. You know, I'm a big boater, and I'm down the shore a lot, down the Jersey Shore.
And
so
those guys are all from those areas.
I've got tons of friends now from the marinas, from the fishing stuff that we do. So I'm starting to get traction down in Cape May County, Atlantic County. I mean, the bulk of my business is still Gloucester and Salem County.
Sure.
I love that area. I live there. But to be honest with you, my heart is closer to the shore, so I'd be very happy if I start getting more business down that way and ultimately plan on living down that way.
Nice. Well, Bobby, I thank you for being with me today.
It's been fantastic.
This is so much fun. We got to do
like
it
you
again.
said earlier, I could do this for another hour.
We
so
could go.
We could just order lunch and get some drinks and keep
rolling.
going. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you so much, Bobby.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate it.